I'd like to talk to you today about the reality that NATO faces as an alliance of 30 nations. It's one of an ever-increasing cyber warfare and seemingly ceaseless variations of intense, perhaps even weaponized economic competition. The Chinese Communist Party presents a real and urgent threat to democracies and companies here in Europe and around the world. The CCP has exploited the institutions of the free world, such as the WTO, to gain an upper hand over the same free nations that enabled its prosperity. Rather than open up, the Chinese government intensified its aggression. It imposed market restrictions, forced technology transfers, and stole intellectual property. I've had that experience myself in Silicon Valley. You know, we're all free traders, but when someone comes into a market and doesn't play by the rules, the market is no longer free. We all thought capitalism would equal democracy, but in China's case, we were wrong. As Secretary Pompeo says, it's time to take off our rose-colored glasses and treat China not how we'd hope they be, but how they truly are. Now, both sides of the aisle back in Washington understand that the Chinese Communist Party is playing the long game, and they're playing for keeps. They fancy themselves as masters of a four-dimensional game of economic, military, diplomatic, and cultural chess. And worst of all, they believe they're above the rules. In this high-stakes competition, there's nothing static about NATO security. It can vanish in an instant, and there is no substitute for a coalition of freedom. A challenge of this magnitude cannot be done alone. It's a team sport, and it will require the synergistic effects across all our governments as well as our powerful private sector. To prevent the CCP's authoritarianism from winning the day on 5G, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg recently remarked, "We have to make sure that Europe and North America stand together to face that China challenge." For years, the CCP has been putting pressure on telecommunication companies and countries to buy from Huawei, knowing that its national intelligence law can oblige Huawei to share data from these countries and companies at any time. CCP's stated doctrine is to seduce with money and reinforce with intimidation and retaliation. Untrusted high-risk vendors like Huawei and ZTE provide the CCP's authoritarian government the capacity to disrupt or weaponize critical applications and infrastructure, or provide technological advances to China's military forces. It should surprise no one that Huawei is under indictment in the United States for bank fraud, wire fraud, conspiracy, violating sanctions, racketeering, and misappropriating intellectual property from 6 U.S. tech companies. And it's no secret that Huawei stole intellectual property from T-Mobile, the U.S. subsidiary of Deutsche Telekom. We know that it deploys these same tactics in Europe or wherever it can get a foothold. Given these dangers, governments and businesses around the world are increasingly asking, who do we trust to carry our most personal information and intellectual property? The primary choices are 2 world-class European vendors on one side, Ericsson and Nokia, and 2 CCP-controlled companies on the other, Huawei and ZTE. After this year, there should be no doubt about the answer. From concealing an outbreak that became a pandemic, to eviscerating Hong Kong's freedoms, to persisting with ruthless campaign of repression in Xinjiang, the CCP's human rights abuses are impossible to ignore. This behavior is made possible by an Orwellian Big Brother surveillance state that tracks billions of people worldwide and extends that great one-way China firewall, where all the data comes in for CCP's use, but none goes out. And reciprocally, all the propaganda goes out, but the truth does not come in. UK Foreign Secretary Rob recently remarked that it isn't just the devastation of COVID-19 that takes the shine off of China, but also the fact that CCP doesn't live up to the deals that it makes. The crackdown in Hong Kong is a case in point. As Foreign Secretary Rob said, it comes down to an issue of trust. He said, why would anyone trust China with other deals they might make? The Transatlantic Alliance has a responsibility to protect the integrity of our networks for nearly 1 billion citizens living under our security umbrella. That's why the United States has teamed up with like-minded nations to develop the Clean Network, which is a comprehensive approach to address the long-term threats to data privacy, security, human rights, and trusted collaboration. Its 5G Clean Path initiative complements the work done by the EU member states in developing the Clean EU 5G Toolbox for designing, constructing, and administering 5G infrastructure. Prime Minister of Poland, Morawiecki, recently commented, Poland believes the construction of our 5G Clean Path network is a prerequisite for strategic technological sovereignty. That's why we're proud to be a 5G clean country. The Clean Network is rooted in internationally accepted digital trust standards and represents the execution of a multi-year, enduring strategy built on a coalition of trusted partners. The Clean Network encompasses the entire system by incorporating additional clean initiatives to safeguard mobile carriers, apps, cloud-based systems, and undersea cables, because a system is only as strong as its weakest link. It sparked a wave of countries and companies choosing clean vendors for their 5G networks. Already, many NATO allies are following suit. The 5G tide has turned toward clean, trusted vendors as more and more countries and companies are using clean providers to build 5G clean network. Huawei deals are evaporating as everyone begins to realize it's an arm of the CCP surveillance state and a tool for human rights abuse. The Clean Network now includes over 30 countries around the world. Many are European, such as the Czech Republic, Norway, Poland, Sweden, Estonia, Romania, Denmark, Greece, Finland, Luxembourg, most recently Serbia and Kosovo, Albania, Latvia, France, the United Kingdom, and Slovenia. Most countries' largest telecommunication companies, such as Telefonica, Telco Italia, Reliance in India, Telstra in Australia, SK and KT in Korea, and all the telcos in Japan, Singapore, Australia, US, and Canada have joined the Clean Network. My good friend Telefonica CEO Jose Lopez remarked, Telefonica is proud to be a 5G Clean Path company. Telefonica in Spain and UK are fully clean networks, and Telefonica Deutschland and Brazil will be equipped with only trusted vendors. But NATO is only as strong as our weakest link. Countries may be tempted to auction off 5G contracts to lowest bidders, but this approach exposes us all to undue risks. NATO allies and partners must acknowledge the intersection between 5G providers and national security equities, including interoperability, information sharing, and resilience against coercive tactics. By building safe networks today, governments can ensure the integrity of their systems and prevent costly countermeasures way far down the road. Since NATO's foundation, 1949, collective security has been the hallmark of this alliance. Many of our NATO countries have come a long way, transitioning at great human and economic cost from an authoritarian regime into a democratic state that we all enjoy today. They know firsthand how authoritarian regimes use data to exert leverage. We will stand firm to protect against this. Modern technologies should expand people's opportunities, not expand a government's control over them. President Reagan's tear down the wall speech, combined with Europe's solidarity movement, was such a crucial catalyst in bringing down the Iron Curtain. And I really believe this is emblematic of the unity and solidarity which will be required to never allow ourselves to be intimidated or undermined by China's Great Firewall. The Clean Network and the EU 5G toolbox provide strength in numbers for the transatlantic nations, governments, as well as our companies. History has taught us there is power and strength in unity and solidarity, and together we can control our 5G destiny and ensure we lead our people down the clean path of a safe and secure future.